In the scriptures, we read of the importance of the heart. The heart, not just the muscle that is pumping blood to every part of your body, delivering life and oxygen and nutrients. But the scriptures talk about the heart as like the seat of the soul, the center of a person, the seat of the will. In the Hebrew context, it wasn't just the place where you felt emotion, but it was the place where you made decisions. People would know and understand and meditate in their hearts. Psalm 14 says this, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God." The fool says in his heart, there is no God. The heart was the center of the will and decision-making, choices of obedience, of wisdom, of foolishness happened here. We read in the book of Daniel that Daniel had a resolve in his heart. He resolved in his heart to make a decision. The heart was the core and soul of a person where emotions were felt and also where people related to God. So the author of Deuteronomy says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength." The heart, not just the muscle, the very important muscle beating in your chest, but the heart, the soul, the center of the person, and what we did with it, how we thought from it, how we handled it and directed it was of utmost importance. Who has your heart? Where is your heart directed? Because the scriptures say every action, every word comes from this place. So the scriptures say, trust the Lord with all your heart. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. Give your heart to the Lord, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 4 says, above all else, guard this thing. Not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, who you trust it with, for everything you do flows from it. Your heart proves and exposes who you are. Proverbs 27 says this, as water reflects a face, so a man's heart reflects the man. What you say reflects your heart. Your heart reflects the man or the woman. Jesus would say, for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. So again, the heart is important, and the heart is telling, and the heart exposes us. What do we trust? What direction do we go? Who has our attention? Who sits on the throne of our heart? Do we love the Lord our God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength? And can I ask you again, where is your heart today? Have you had a checkup recently? I've been wading into my 40s with fear and trepidation. I haven't been really good at going to the doctor in my 30s, and I've noticed a few things over the past couple months. Recently, I've had a few headaches that were kind of odd. My eyes have been watering in a weird way, and I'm a little tired, but I'm also wired up, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm like, Jenna, I'm going to go on a diet, and I'm going to only eat this, I'm going to work out. And she's like, I think you should go to the doctor. And I'm like, no, never. So I went to the doctor, and I sat down in there, and he said, hey, anything stressful going on in your life? I was like, not really. I don't know. I don't really feel stressed. And he said, well, your blood pressure is through the roof, and your heart may suggest otherwise. You might be stressed. My heart exposed me. As a man looks at water, my heart reflected what was going on in my life. Exposed me. I needed a check up. I needed a redirect. I needed a correction and maybe a full reset. And maybe today you do too. Culturally, I would argue, we do too. We need a reset. Today, again, we start a new series called After His Heart, and where we're going to look at the life of David. The David and Goliath David, step by step to see how he was chosen, how he was prepared for what God had for him, how he was hunted by an enemy, by many enemies, haunted by his sin, and finally made whole. We're going to be here for a while through June, wherever we will be together. And we're going to explore the Lord's desire for you and me and what we do with our heart, and to seek out and to seek out how God seeks out a leader or a king that would be after his own heart. So here's the setting today, and just so you know, whatever is happening culturally is literally ironic to what we're talking about today, all right? There was no we saw this protest plan, and so we're going to do a series about a king and about a new king. There's nothing there, so please hold the emails. This was planned a long time ago, all right? In the book of 1 Samuel, though, we read about a king named Saul. Saul became king in 1050 BC, a long time ago, and reigned as king until 1010 BC. He was a man who did a lot of good, had a lot of valiant victories, but succumbed to a corrupt heart and led in a crooked way. And that crooked way trickled down to the culture that followed him. And a heart check and a correction was needed. So in the book of 1 Samuel, we read that the prophet Samuel comes to the king, crooked King Saul, and delivers this message from the God of all creation. He says this in chapter 13, verse 13. Saul, you have done a foolish thing, Samuel said. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had kept that command, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. Big mistake, Saul. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's commands. That is tough news for Saul, who only, I think, had some good in his heart, wanted to do what was right, but had slipped up, had not done everything that the Lord had commanded, had forsaken some of the ways that God wanted him to be a man of character and integrity. And it was communicated, hey, God's made a decision, you're out, and there's a new man coming for your job. So in 1 Samuel chapter 16, we read, the Lord said to Samuel, here's what I want you to do, Samuel. Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem, and I have chosen one of his sons to be the king. I love that. Really quick, God is sending Samuel out to find the next king that God has already chosen. And he says to Samuel, fill your horn with oil. Dads, next time you go on a big road trip, let's fill our horns with oil. And what is this about? Like, why is he taking massive amounts of olive oil with him on this journey? Maybe just in case he runs into some focaccia bread, maybe some naan. No. Like, God was sending Samuel out to find and anoint the next king with that oil. And when someone was chosen by God, they were anointed with oil, maybe on the forehead, or maybe that whole horn of oil was dumped over someone's head. And it was to represent, this is God's chosen. The Lord's presence is on this person. So Samuel heads out with a bag and a horn filled with oil, looking for the next leader to replace the crooked King Saul. Now, who does he look for? Who is Samuel looking for? Who would you look for if you were charged to find the next king? What kind of attributes would that king possess? What kind of people are in places of influence and power and authority now? Are like the defining attributes, like they need to be wealthy? They need to be networked or connected. They need to be charismatic. They need to be powerful or clear or famous or competent or influential. What do we see elevated today in our culture that marks some of those in positions of influence? Whether it be celebrity, sports, TikTok, YouTube, politics, or preaching. What marks the people that we seek to follow? The Harvard Business Review came out with an article that shared 8 essential qualities of successful leaders based on the research of Linda Hill that said this: the best leaders, based on their studies, exemplify these: authenticity, curiosity, analytical prowess, meaning they are data informed or aware of what's happening in the lives of those people they are following. They are adaptable, creative, comfortable with ambiguity, resilient, and empathetic. That's a great list. But is that what we look for? Is that what we are? Is that what we're actually elevating? Is that who we're coming around? Or are the people and personalities and politicians and pastors we actually follow? Like, what does it look like? Who are we actually looking for? Who are we actually putting in these places? Or do we just look for all the bells and whistles and who makes me comfortable and who promises all of this thing and has all this charisma? What kind of a leader or king or person would you look for? And who does God choose? Let's find out. The Lord sends the prophet Samuel to the house of Jesse. Jesse was the son of Judah. Judah was the son of Jacob. Jacob had many sons. Joseph was one of them, the coat of many colors. We did a series through the life of Joseph earlier. And from that line, the tribe of Judah, God has chosen the next king. And notice what Samuel looks for. Samuel is like looking for the next. He's like, okay, I'm here. I've got my oil. It's heavy. I'm ready to dump this on somebody's head to select him as the next king. Samuel is looking. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And it says this in verse 6. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, whoa, surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord. Now, Eliab was the oldest of Jesse's sons. He was most likely the most put together, the most experienced, likely tall, stunning, good-looking guy. Surely this is the guy, Samuel says. Like, he looks the part. He's the favorite eldest son of Jesse. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't consider his appearance or his height, for I've rejected him. The favored son of Jesse shows up and he appears strong, tall, dark, and handsome, like captain of the football team. But God says, hey, I've rejected him. That's strong here. That's strong word usage here. But it doesn't mean that God has ousted him from his kingdom. But he said basically, hey, I'm not picking him. I'm not picking him to be king. Well, why? Samuel thought, surely this guy hits all of the markers. The Harvard Business Review, before it was, surely I can see it on display in this person. But then we read this. Well, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. That's the first thing I want us to get this morning, and maybe our consideration of our own heart, and maybe a heart that we look for in other people, is that God, first truth is that God looks to the heart. God looks to the heart. People, we look at the outside, don't we? The bravado, the perceived confidence, the height of the person, the dress of the person. Literally, like how a person postures themselves and stands. Did you know that there are statistics out there that a taller candidate in a political race will win more popular votes? Like, that's why people stand on stools, put lifts on their shoes, care about camera angles. That's why their aides are worried, like, don't trip on those steps. Like all for what? All for appearance and perception. All because people tend to look at the outside of the person, the outside appearances. But the Lord looks at the heart. Pretty up the outside all you want. But God sees and knows what's going on right here. David would later write in Psalm 139, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit down, you know when I stand up, you perceive my thoughts from afar. Jeremiah the prophet would say this, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind. The writer of Proverbs says in chapter 21, the Lord weighs and judges the heart. God knows the heart. We care so desperately about how we look and how we appear and our posture and our Instagram stuff and how we're looking to the world and our brand. But God sees right through it and directly here. Is that intimidating to think about for you? That we work so hard to clean the outside of our life and our cup so that everybody has this perception of us, but God sees right here to the secret places of your heart, the depths of your heart, the God of all creation who knit the universe together and said stars and light, and they happen, and mountains rise up, and God is eternal and holy and glorious, and he knits you together, and he knows what's happening here, the seat of your will, the core of who you are. Is that intimidating? Is it challenging? Is it exposing to think that God knows your secrets? Or is it freeing? I think that's why the psalmist writes, Lord, you search me and you know me, because there's nothing I can hide from you, God. It's so freeing that I can say, here I am. You already know it. I'm not going to try and cover it up. I'm not trying to sweep anything under the rug. God, search my heart. Find me out. You weigh the heart. Give me that ability to be free before you. You don't have to hide what's in here from God because he already sees it. The Lord looks at the heart. We look at the outside, the Lord looks at the heart. So Samuel continues on, and he goes, okay, Lord, well, I thought that was the guy because tall, dark, handsome, great guy, well put together, well-versed, but how about this next one, Lord? Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, well, the Lord hasn't chosen this one either. Jesse then had Shammah pass by, but Samuel said, well, the Lord hasn't chosen this one either. Jesse had 7 of his sons pass by before Samuel. But Samuel said to him, not that one, not that one, not that one. The Lord hasn't chosen him. The Lord hasn't chosen him. So he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you got? You got anybody else? And it's so interesting to me that Samuel in this moment, he comes with the perspective of people. Honestly, he's a prophet, but the first thing he is reacting to is body language, stature, demeanor. And God checks him and says, I haven't chosen that one. And Samuel starts to learn, maybe I should listen to God's voice for who he's chosen instead of making my plans on who I would choose. And so I get this thing, you're kind of reading into it a little bit, but I get this perspective that Samuel starts to go, Lord, how about this one? Lord, I see his height, you weigh his heart, so what about this one? I see his facial expressions and her tone of voice, but you see the depths of a person. Help me to hear your voice here, God. And I think this is crucial for us because how many decisions do we rush into or do we struggle with where we are looking at the outside appearances? And maybe we can learn from Samuel here. God, vet the heart of this relationship for me. Show me the character of this individual that we're considering hiring for this position. God, you see the heart, so help us, lead us to choose the person or to step in the direction that you might have us to step into. And God, show me my heart, because my heart can deceive me and trick me. Find if there is anything crooked in me before I go forward here, before I speak up here, before I rush into this. Maybe that's a question that we wrestle with, that we get from Samuel. Lord, how about this one? God, you look to the heart. God, show me your heart for this situation. You see the heart. Show me yours. Maybe that could lead us forward. Jesse's sons come up to Samuel one at a time. Not that one, not that one, not that one. He gets to the end and he says, well, I thought God said he had chosen one of your sons. Is this all you got? 11, verse 11, Samuel asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? And Jesse pipes up, well, there is still the youngest, and he's out tending sheep. Wait a second. There's another son? I called and said, hey, bring all of your sons, line them up. The Lord has chosen one to be anointed as the next king, and you didn't bring all of them? You forgot about one in the field? There was one you had that you didn't even mention? You left one of your youngest out in the fields tending sheep and didn't think about him. So Samuel said this, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. What's that mean? Translation, hurry up, because I've got this heavy horn of oil. I'm not even going to sit down. You go get your next son. So Jesse sent for him and had David brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. And then the Lord said, that's him. Rise and anoint him. This is the one. The Lord spoke to Samuel as David walked up. Now, notice, first thing we read about is David's appearance. Appearance is fine and has handsome features. Maybe David later in life said, hey, will you write that in to just let him know I wasn't bad looking, you know? And the Lord said, I see his heart, rise and anoint him. This one is him. So Samuel took that horn of oil, poured it over his head, anointed him in the presence of his brothers, and from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Some truths here. Get this. Truth number one, God looks at the heart. And number two, God often chooses the unexpected. God often chooses the overlooked. God often calls the forgotten about. David was the youngest, the runt of the litter, probably unassuming compared to everybody else, overlooked. He was left uninvited to the party that would be the place where the next king was picked. And he's in a field forgotten about, faithfully tending sheep. And he walks up, God whispers to Samuel, that's him. God chooses the often overlooked. Have you felt overlooked in your life? God calls David right in the middle of his ordinary, mundane, boring, on repeat kind of life. What did God see in him? He's like 15 years old. He's been in fields every single day of his life. I believe God saw uncommon faithfulness in David. I believe God sees uncommon faithfulness in the midst of life's most common circumstances. I'm going to say that again. I believe God sees uncommon faithfulness in the middle of the most common circumstances. And God is looking for that to anoint and choose to lead in the future. Anytime God wants to prepare you and I for something big, a kingdom initiative that is meaningful, he first, I think, looks at us in private places, in mundane places, quiet places where no one else is looking to see, like, does he or she have the character for what I'm about to call them to? He puts us in places where we can be tested and formed and grown so that we have what we need internally to be prepared for what he's calling us to in our lives. For David, that ordinary and overlooked place was the field. His dad kind of forgot. He's like, surely he's not going to be picked, so I'll just leave him out in that field because he's doing a good job. And this was David's monotonous life. Think about his life. Every day, wake up, pack my bag, sheep out of the pen, sheep back in the pen, go home and go to sleep. Next day, wake up, pack my bag, sheep out of the pen, sheep in the pen, go home, go to sleep. Next day, wake up, pack my bag, sheep out of the pen, there's a bear, I'm going to ward that one off, a couple wolves, an occasional lion, sheep back in the pen, go home, tell my brothers about it, they're not going to believe me about the sheep and the bear and the lion, and then I'm going to go to sleep. Every day of David's life was kind of monotonous, kind of boring. But it was from that field of faithfulness that God calls David. In the midst of his day in and day out, the right now, God calls David and chooses David. We know that David's going to go on to fight Goliath. He's going to face danger. He's going to worship. He's going to eventually be king in like 15 plus years from now. But it was right in the midst of his faithful field moments that God called him. And God saw David's uncommon faithfulness in the most common things. The ordinary daily grind of the field is where God saw, that's him. Rise and anoint him. Have you had moments in your life like that? Maybe like wake up, pack your bag, go to work, come back to work, go to bed. Wake up, pack your bag, go home. Have you had that? Those moments in your life where maybe you felt like, gosh, I'm seeing something. I have these dreams for my life. I've got this calling, but I'm stuck in this stinking field. What do you do in those moments? I think back on times in my life often of seasons that I thought, and Jenna and I thought, we would never get out of. Like, and I was looking at all these people being promoted, and I'm like, that guy? Okay. Like, he got picked over me, and she got picked over. And I'm like, just seeing all of this stuff, and I felt forgotten about, and I felt like I'm just grinding away here in this boring task, and I feel like I was made for more. And I would often deal with frustration and anxiety and all these things. And in the midst of that, I had a mentor who simply said, Bramer, shut up and be faithful. Stop complaining and just show up and be faithful. He said, remember what Jesus said in Matthew 25. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Show up. Be faithful. If you have a job at Brownsboro General Store where you've got to wash dishes and scrape meatloaf off of people's plates, show up early, do it all for the glory of God. Don't complain and be faithful, because your faithfulness in the field now will prepare you for what he is calling you to in the future. I wonder if David, in the midst of his monotonous life, would have had a heart after God if he kind of did what many of us are tempted to do. Well, I'm bored. I'm out here watching sheep, pulling them in the pen. Wonder what would have happened if he just got impatient or got a little impulsive. And maybe he just skirted some of the faithfulness and some of the jobs and some of the duties. Maybe there's some, females in the field next door that he wanted to go and just flirt with and leave. I don't know. What would have happened? What would have happened if he sacrificed his character in the field? Would he have been chosen? What ordinary fields are you in right now? And how might they be preparing you for the unexpected around the corner? God looks at the heart, and God often chooses the unexpected and the overlooked, and God forms us in the fields of life so that he can call us to the extraordinary around the corner. Last truth. He chooses David because God desires a heart after his. God desires a heart after his. God looks at the heart. God chooses the unexpected among us, the overlooked, the forgotten, and God desires a heart after his. David would go on to live a crazy life, and it's not a perfect story. I just want you to know that. Failure marks David. Struggle marks David. He's in danger. He's panicked. He's running for his life. He's getting spears chucked at him. He's trying to be impaled, or somebody's trying to impale him against the wall. And in all of David's life and struggle and failure and journey, it's said of him, he is a man after God's own heart. Later in David's life, he will write Psalm 23. And I just want to read it to us. You've likely heard it. David writes this, I've learned about the Lord. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I have all I need. The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. The Lord restores my soul. The Lord leads me to a place of rest. The Lord leads me in paths of righteousness. He shows me the right way to go for his name's sake. And even though I walk through some of life's most extreme difficulties, the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for he is with me. His rod and his staff, they guide me and comfort me. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. He has anointed my head with oil, and I overflow with his presence. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord and walk with him forever. David was a shepherd. He was faithful in the field when he was chosen. God was looking at the heart. God chose the unexpected because the unexpected displayed a heart after his. And then David, as he grows, is piecing all of this together, and he's like, man, you know what? God, I was a shepherd. I know what it's like to be a shepherd, to lead the sheep to the stream and lead them to the green grass and ward off the wolves and the bears and the lions and the enemies. Man, that is who God is, the perfect good shepherd. And we see David have a heart that says, God, shepherd me. Lead me. I want my heart to follow after your heart. Guide me because I don't know how I'm going to get through this valley. Guide me because I don't know how I'm going to get through this anger. Guide me, because I don't know how I'm going to do all of this life and all of these decisions and all of this leadership. Well, he postures his heart after the Lord and says, Lord, you're my shepherd. I don't know where today hits you, or what you're wrestling with, or what you're frustrated in, if you're tired, if you're angry, if your heart is hard and needs to be softened. But could I just encourage you in the next few moments to fight, to put your heart in his hands. To say, God, I want a heart after yours. You know I'm not perfect. You know I'm fallen. I'm broken. I'm tired. I'm anxious. I was up all night. I was X, Y, and Z. But God, you just say, trust me. Trust me with your heart. In just a moment, we're going to share in communion. As you came in, there's a little packet of juice and bread on the seat that you were sitting in. I want to ask that you take that out. Jesus comes to us. Jesus is the Son of God, made flesh, walked among us, taught us, died on the cross, bearing the weight of our sin and shame. And the night before he was betrayed, he sat with his friends and he said, I want you to do this in remembrance of me. Remember that there is no place that your heart can go that I don't know where you're at. There's nowhere you can go for me seeing you. There's no depth of mistakes or pain that you could get to that my hand can't reach. And he sat with his friends and he said, do this and remember me. Remember that my body was broken for you. Remember that my blood was spilled for you. That you can be washed and be made clean. So that your heart can be made new. I've really prayed a lot, like throughout my life, of God, I need a refresh. I need a checkup. I need a reset. And it used to become like seasonal. Now I feel like it's every day. God, take my heart. Take my heart, because God, I'm tired. I want to put my heart in your hands. A daily prayer. And I had a mentor once say, like, how do I cultivate a heart for the Lord? He said, by these three things: fight for a humble presence, hope-filled patience, and honest prayer. As we take communion, I want to encourage you with this. Be present in the room right now. And sit humbly before God, present, aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Be filled with hope as you wait on God. So many times in life, we can rush out of a moment or get impatient or rush to some anticipation. Would you just sit and be patient for what God might want to say to you about your heart? And when then you get to a place of honest prayer, where you are raw before God, where you are formed by his words, and your trust is deepened as we put our heart in his hands. I'm going to pray for us. We're going to sing a song together. And when you feel led and ready, in your humble presence, hope-filled patience, pray honestly before the Lord. And let's take communion together when you're ready. Father, we love you and we thank you for the example that we see all throughout the scriptures of men and women who were just like us. They were imperfect, they were flawed, they were overlooked, they were forgotten, and yet, God, you show us their path, their steps to redemption. And it wasn't necessarily in their own might or will or strength. It's that they learned that they were most human, most alive, when they put their heart in your hands. Help us to be that courageous, that bold today. Help us to recognize that we have been called chosen. We have been called adopted by the blood of Jesus. And help us to put our heart in your hands. We love you, Lord.